Well, it's great to have you with us. It is the training camp, early part of an edition of Death, Taxes, and Duval alongside Hayes Carline. My name is Rick Ballou. 3 days in the books. And how about a quick shout out before we get to our sponsor to Episcopal and the high school facility. Honestly, Hayes, I've enjoyed it the last 3 days more than what it's been like for decades, right next door to the stadium.
I agree. Magnificent job by Hamza for the Jaguars. He's been doing logistics for them for, 10 years now. Mm-hmm. And this might have been his greatest challenge. And what an unbelievable job they did creating two pristine fields. It wasn't just sodding them. They had to level the ground, rebuild the ground so that it would have that nice arc that, NFL football fields have. And obviously the sod and the extra power that they had to bring out. It's a 5-bus convoy, but to find a location that's close to the stadium, find a location that wasn't being used. That's the thing. Episcopal doesn't use this time of year. It's a soccer lacrosse facility. I have a feeling their football team is going to want to use it after the Jaguars are done. But yeah, it looks magnificent. And there's some things too that I like. There's no music. Because they didn't have I don't think they have the capability.
Right.
So, I don't, have you guys heard?
Well, there's been a little bit of music
but I don't think there was any today. Maybe something went wrong.
I've
I was
noticed a little bit.
Today. I was like, there's no music, and that's kind of.
Yeah, I've noticed a little bit between both fields, but you really can't hear it.
Yeah, it's way quieter than normal. Yeah. Significantly quieter.
Right.
So it's been great. It's unfortunate that the fans can't go out there this year. It's a temporary thing because the Miller Electric Performance Center is being built. So it's but for a 1-year stopgap, fantastic.
And logistics are huge because you're only allowed 11 hours a day with the players, and you don't want to burn 45 minutes one way, 45 minutes the other, and you may say, well, you can get enough done in 11 hours. You know how coaches are outside of, obviously, a year ago with Urban Meyer. Well, everything was scripted in the dirt. They are so tedious about the way that things are going to be done session after session, time after time. So, spend 10 minutes in the bus there, 10 minutes in the bus on the way back doesn't put much into it as far as any negativity. And that would be the case if they had to travel somewhere else. Those who live here in Jacksonville know nothing is 10 minutes away. Nothing is 15 minutes away. It takes an awful long time, but fortunately, they're able to get from the stadium over to Episcopal. Let's thank our sponsor.
Yeah, appreciate Spickelmier Insurance Agency sponsoring Death, Taxes, and Duval. John Spickelmier is a great guy. I went to high school with him, known him forever, went to Notre Dame, and he can help you save money on your car insurance. You should let him at least look at your policy. You have nothing to lose. Let him look at it, make sure you're paying for the right things, but John can certainly do that for you, and hopefully he can save you some money on something that we all have to have. So Spickelmier Insurance Agency, reach out to John at 471-7155.
All right, there's so many things to cover. Let's really begin at the top. On Tuesday, Trevor Lawrence arguably had the best practice performance that any Jaguar quarterback has had in 28 years of its existence. Somewhere 16 for 16, 17 for 17, and 7-on-7s, 11-on-11s. Some deep balls, intermediate routes, some corner routes. Yeah, there were a few dump downs, but that was a problem for him last year. His completion percentage was under 60%. It was one of the worst in the NFL. Don't want to overdo it, but Tuesday for Trevor Lawrence, outstanding.
Outstanding day. It needs to be. The defense is limited in what they can do, so the offense should take full advantage of that. And Trevor was brilliant. The long one to Laquan Treadwell was a thing of beauty. And just in command. He's decisive. There's not a lot of patting the ball. Trevor has a good idea where he's going. He's going through his progressions quickly. Press Taylor spoke with us before practice and really seems encouraged by what he's seeing out of Trevor Lawrence. So, and I think the other end of that, it takes multiple parties to go 17-17. I think the fact that the receivers were catching the ball is another great sign as well. So yeah, that was what they should dominate offensively through the air. They should dominate these first few days until the defense is really allowed to play defense. And I would expect the defense will now counter, and over the next, particularly once we get into pads on Sunday, you'll start to see it even out. But Trevor Lawrence is doing exactly what he should be doing. He should be dissecting the defense right now. It's exactly what he's doing.
It was encouraging because Monday wasn't a perfect day. It was an abbreviated practice. There was kind of a heated ball that was thrown to Snoop Connor that, frankly, just can't happen. There was a drop by Kirk. There was a drop by Marvin Jones Jr., but everything got cleaned up on Tuesday. Today, on Wednesday, very impressed with Evan Engram. Now, he dropped the ball on Tuesday during individual drills, and there was video of it. It went out on social media, particularly on Twitter, and Giant fans went crazy, responding, saying, this is what you're going to get. And he made some nice grabs today, including one which Trevor threw behind him. He was able to reach back, get both his paws on it, and make a nice reception. That is so big for Evan Engram because he is a different-looking tight end than I can ever think of that we've seen here in Jacksonville. Got to stay healthy, and he's got to catch the football.
Yeah, I mean, he looks like a wide receiver. I mean, he doesn't even look like a big wide receiver. It really is amazing every time that I see Evan that he is a tight end, but he is incredibly fast. He's explosive, and that was a sensational catch that he made today, making that adjustment. If he can stay healthy, he should have a big year. I mean, Trevor clearly has a lot of confidence in him. He's in a perfect system for his skill set. This is whoever advised him, or maybe it was Evan. I mean, to take a 1-year, $8 million deal here, if you're going to take a prove-it deal, it was smart to take it here because he's going to be in an offense that is going to give him every opportunity to catch 70 passes and hopefully get close to flirting with 800, 900 yards. So he looks great. If they can stay healthy, I think I don't know that anybody is a star. We'll see if Christian Kirk's a star. We'll see if Travis Etienne is a star. But it seems like in terms of at least the options that Trevor has, that he's got 5 or 6 really quality options. He might not be throwing to a Megatron, or dumping it down to a Kamara. But it feels like at least wherever he's going with the ball, you feel pretty good about its destination.
Yeah, no doubt. And really the route tree as well with Engram, as you said, it looks like a wide receiver. I've even noticed some deep routes that have been run by Dan Arnold, who I think for the most part has really been forgotten around here. And I think he has an opportunity to put up some good numbers. Both Zay Jones, the ability to run deep. And he's a hype machine, incredibly vocal. I did not know that about him until he arrived here. Jones Jr. looks to be in his normal fashion, if you will. And, early on in camp, I'm impressed with what I think are the number 4 and number 5 wide receivers. Treadwell remains consistent. And I'm going to come out and say it, especially yesterday. Laviska Shenault early on. There was one play where he lined up on the wrong side. Trevor had to call him over, and that's an issue. It seems like he was lost at times, and maybe it was just the bad platform of the 2021 Jaguars, but didn't always run the right routes, maybe didn't always know the plays. But they've done a lot of different things with him so far in camp, and he's been able to get in space, and he has been able to hold on to the football.
Yeah, I think Chenault's look good. I'm eager to see if that continues when the pads go on, and it should continue or even be heightened, because he's such a physical player. That was, Press Taylor again asked about Shenault today, and that was sort of the first thing is, well, he's such a good ball carrier,
right?
Which is not how you would normally hear an offensive coordinator talk about a receiver. But that is with Shenault, that's his strength. So when they get into pads, he's a player that you would not expect to wilt in that setting. But yeah, he's gotten off to a nice start. You said something really interesting about Treadwell on your show last night that's just spot on. He is the baseball equivalent of he's a professional hitter. He has just become this savvy veteran that you can count on. And he spoke with us last year in training camp and talked about the mental health that he'd had to sort of go through. He's a first-round pick in Minnesota, and, just how much different he is as a person. And it does sort of feel like maybe the Jaguars are, met Treadwell at the right time and vice versa. Because I think he's a lock to be the 4th receiver.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. I wasn't going to work with all those guys. Taven Austin they brought on later and Philip Dorsett. But Treadwell, if memory serves me correct, he didn't make the 53.
No.
Then they put him on the practice squad. He earned his way back and ended up being, pretty consistent down the stretch for Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars. All right, right now the offensive line, the two certainties that we know, Cam Robinson left tackle, Brandon Sheriff right guard. Right out of the gate, 3 straight practices, we have seen Luke Fortner, the rookie at center, Ty Shatley, a surprise, in my opinion, as the left guard over Ben Barch. And yeah, we've seen Walker Little work himself in a little bit at right tackle, not on Monday, but we've seen it the last couple of days. But right now, without pads, it appears that Juwan Taylor remains the incumbent.
Yeah, absolutely. It was interesting at the end of practice today. Juwan Taylor didn't take part in the conditioning that they do at the very end. So I don't know if maybe the heat got to him or if hopefully it was something like that.
I actually saw him working the ropes on the side.
So I was wondering, did he get hurt late? And he seemed fine. I mean, walking off the field, there didn't seem to be a massive issue, but that'll be something to watch for tomorrow's practice. They'll be their fourth day in 4 days before they take Friday off. But yeah, Fortner starting right out of the gate was really surprising to me. I thought he would get there, but I thought it would take some time. But I do love the approach by Doug Peterson. There is no BS creating a competition that doesn't exist. We have seen it. We saw it with Urban Meyer, with Trevor Lawrence. We saw it with Doug Marrone, with Leonard Fournette and Cam Robinson. Their rookie years, it's like, nope, I'm going to make them earn it. I'm not going to put them in the starting lineup. I'm not going to have them running with the ones until we get to the third week of training camp. Well, how much sense does that make? Because you're starting them in the opener. Yeah. So all you're doing is handicapping yourself because these young players are not getting the reps that they need to be ready for week one. I love Doug Peterson's approach. He's like, I'm not going to create some farcical show here to appease a veteran. I think it's insulting to the veteran anyway, because the veteran knows he's getting beat out. All you're doing is prolonging it and creating something for the veteran that isn't there, because ultimately you're going to start the rookie. And I think, look, you're going to see if they're healthy, Travon Walker starts, Devin Lloyd starts. Day one, I mean, they were starting day one of OTAs. And I love that, the coaches in the break decided Luke Fortner is our guy. Why create something?
Yep.
We got enough problems. We believe he's our center. Let's have him be the first team center all throughout camp and be able to really start building that up with Trevor.
Yeah, it really doesn't matter who the coach is. I mean, it seems to be that's the way things are. I remember being in Foxborough a few years ago when Jaguar legend Brandon Albert went AWOL, did not show up, right?
And then all of a sudden, the lazy river.
Yeah, Cam Robinson, there you go, kid. Go earn it. And then, of course, last year, just the disgrace that you actually rotated snaps with Minshew and Lawrence. It was a joke. And your point about playing these young guys, Andre Cisco didn't get nearly enough snaps last year. We saw it again today as we shift the defense a little bit and go to the defensive side. Daniel Thomas, another strong camp. They blitzed him today, and again, they're not in pads, so you really can't tell everything. But at least it looked like, wow, this kid's got an ability to make some plays. He played a ton of football at Auburn. He had a very good camp last year, but he did not see the field. I would love, and I know they've paid Rayshawn Jenkins a lot of money, but I would love to see Thomas get a ton of snaps and obviously Cisco be the starter at the other safety position.
Yeah, Cisco is got to get all the reps he can. It's great that that's the route that they're taking. I agree. Daniel Thomas is a good player. I didn't have him on my 53 because I kept 7 corners. But if I had to amend it today, gun to my head, I'd say they keep 6 corners, 5 safeties, and Daniel Thomas makes the team along with Rudy Ford. As you mentioned, Jenkins, Cisco, and then Andrew Wingard for his special teams acumen. But yeah, I mean, they've got a good group at safety. Really, to be honest, the safety that I worry the most about is Jenkins.
Yeah,
because we just haven't, for all the, not hype is too strong, but for all the encouraging things the Jaguars said about him a year ago when they signed him, they just haven't shown up. Doesn't mean they won't. Tayshaun Gibson wasn't great his first year here as a free agent from Cleveland. His second year, he almost went to the Pro Bowl, and a lot of people in the building believed he absolutely should have gone to the Pro Bowl. So, sometimes it takes that second year. But, I mean, for me, what I remember Rayshawn Jenkins for is, taunting after the opponent ran for 9 yards up the middle.
Yeah. And to me, that just is the type of leadership you can't have on a football team. And it's amazing because a year ago, Urban Meyer was bragging about the leadership qualities of Rayshawn Jenkins, and it really did backfire. Right now, to me, it feels like as far as the system, the offense, and it's so early, but, the West Coast style and everything that they're going to be able to do as far as, three-step drops, getting rid of the football, the opportunity for some RPOs. We've seen a lot of counters and reverses. I like what we've seen with the offense. The defense I'm trying to figure out right now, and they look like a better group. The front seven looks like a better group, albeit there's a lot of new faces there, so they have to learn things. But I'm still a little bit concerned about Mike Caldwell. And, I asked him 2 months ago about the green dot. He was asked about it again yesterday. He still doesn't have an answer as to who is going to control the scheme defensively, who's going to get the assignments from Mike Caldwell coming in to that defensive huddle.
Yeah, I think I get the read from Mike Caldwell that he's a first-time defensive coordinator and he's petrified to say anything remotely revealing, which I understand. These guys wait a long time to get this kind of an opportunity, and he doesn't want to do something that's going to upset his boss. I understand that. They should be able to tell us who's going to wear the green dot because I think it's obvious who's going to wear the green dot. It's going to be Foye Oluokun.
It's got to be.
I mean, you paid him all this money. He's a veteran. He led the NFL in tackles last year. Why would he not wear it? I mean, to me, you'd have to have a pretty strong argument as to why it would not be Oluokun.
Yeah.
I mean, Devin Lloyd looks like he could be a great player, but he's a rookie. I hate putting the green dot on a safety.
No doubt.
I just do not like doing that unless your safety is Ed Reed, but I don't, they don't have that here. To me, there's not a safety that I would put the green dot on. Foye Oluokun is totally taking charge of the defense from speaking to Josh Allen. And he is he's going to play all three downs. And he's a veteran. It's his fifth year. And so I will be shocked if Foye Oluokun does not wear the green dot against Washington on September 11th, assuming he's healthy. Yeah,
he mentioned a linebacker or a safety. I'm in agreement with you there. And, Cisco's a guy that would come to mind, but he's basically a rookie because he didn't play a year ago. You can't trust Rayshon Jenkins, in my opinion. Then you get the whole situation with Lloyd, and, a guy like Chad Muma, to me, looks like he could be a future green dot guy, either one of those two. But as you pointed out, they're rookies. And, I'll be honest here. What was 3 years ago when they brought in Joe Schobert? I didn't watch a lot of Cleveland football. I was under the impression that Schobert was a great run linebacker and not particularly good against coverage. I was dead wrong. He was a better coverage linebacker than he was a run linebacker. And obviously, he did a nice job that year lining up everyone, including Miles Jack. Kind of felt the same way about Oluokun. Looked at his numbers. I mean, he led the league in tackles, but I see 10 pass defenses the last 2 years, four interceptions the last 2 years. He is also a guy who does well in coverage because my thinking was maybe he comes out, you go with more athletic, younger linebackers once you go in the nickel or dime. But that doesn't appear to be the case. Oluokun's going to be on the field.
Yeah, I think so. And again, he's like Schobert. He's undersized. I mean, he is not a big guy where he's lumbering and you feel like, in the pass game, he's going to be a liability. I mean, Foye Oluokun is not a gigantic linebacker. So, I think it makes all the sense in the world. They gave him a lot of money. Look, he's going to be here 2 years. That's the kind of contract he got. He didn't get a prove it deal. He got a you've proved it and here's your money deal. So I would be really surprised if he is not wearing it. And again, he is the one out there that is exuding the most on-field leadership. So I think it's a case of rookie defensive coordinator doesn't want to reveal too much right now. And I don't get why it matters. I don't know how it helps Washington. If they know that, I mean, I'm sure Ron Rivera has a pretty good idea who's going to be wearing the green dot for the Jaguars when they visit Week 1.
Yes.
But I'll chalk it up to he doesn't want to upset anybody in the building, but it's got to be Oluokun.
It has to be. I would absolutely think so. It's too early because Paz doesn't go on until Sunday. So, Jay Tufele made a real good play yesterday. Is that something that you can hang your hat on? Arden Key's a guy that I'm really interested in because he lines up outside, but in pass rush situations, you see him move inside. Obviously, everyone around town wants to know about Josh Allen. They want to know about Travon Walker. We've watched him do a lot of drills. Yeah, it looks pretty good so far. But I just think that position group, it's very difficult to tell anything. I mean, Walker went by Robinson twice yesterday. But if they did have pads on, how different would that particular situation would have been? It's hard to analyze under those circumstances.
It is, and Travon Walker is going hard. Cam Robinson is a veteran. He's been through this now for several years, training camps. If he was going at full speed, he's in trouble because Travon Walker is whipping him, and he's whipping him consistently. But to your point, a player like Cam Robinson, the light may not fully turn on for him until the pads go on. And, we're still 7 weeks away from the opener.
Yes, we are.
So, if you're a guy that's got 6 years in this league under your belt, are you really going to be going your hardest on the second, third day of training camp? So I think Sunday will tell the tale. But I do expect Travon Walker is going to win his fair share of battles against Cam Robinson and either Jawan Taylor or Walker Little. He's just a different athlete. And his length and his speed, I think, is in that drill that already favors the defensive end anyway. I think it is going to be a tough assignment for those tackles.
Don't want to spend a lot of time here on Travon Walker because even though he is the sack guru, according to his Twitter handle, the guy's got 2 career sacks, for crying out loud. That would be like me putting on Twitter, Mr. Fit over here. It's just amazing to me. But, I was talking about it last night. I was wondering, could this team be creative enough? And I know to use the word creative after 3 wins is probably not the word I'm looking for. But what if they dumb it down so much for Travon Walker that they say, listen, this is your only deal. When we get into nickel, you're on linebackers. You're on the tight end, and you're on the tight end exclusively. You're not going to be blitzing. You're not going to be rushing. You're not in on first down. You're not in on second down. We are going to go to our third down defense. It's 3rd and 9. We think you have the skills to be a decent coverage linebacker. You'll be on tight end 3rd and 9. And that's just one phase of the defense. It could be several different varieties. But what if they do it in that fashion where they say, take all the pressure off you. You become a snap count guy. You may get 12 snaps a game, but you have only one responsibility.
It's really the direction I think they have to go in. He's almost like the defensive version of Laviska Shenault. He is a tweener, and he doesn't fit what they're asking him to do. He got ragdolled last year by Walker Little in 1-on-1s in training camp. The same thing's going to happen this year. He just doesn't physically work as an edge player. He is too light. If anything, they should try him at inside linebacker, but now you've invested so much in that spot with Aluakan, Lloyd, and Muma that I don't know why you would need to do that. But Travon Walker is more inside linebacker. I would even say maybe is a big safety than he is edge rusher. He is completely out of place at that position. If he was blindingly quick, he might have a chance to have some success, but he's not. He's not slow, but he's not. You have at that frame, you'd have to be lightning to be effective.
Yeah,
and he's not. And so as soon as the lineman gets even a half of a hand on him, he gets whipped around because he just has no power. He has no bulk. And so Travon Walker isn't going to work as an edge rusher. I think he makes the team because my guess is that they will continue to try and tinker and find ways, to your point. He's good in coverage, like you're saying, but he is totally miscast.
With Devin Lloyd out, it's actually been Shaq Quarterman early on as the starter over Chad Muma. And I think Shaq's kind of limited. I think he's more of a against the run type of linebacker. His whole east to west and the ability to drop back is lacking a little bit. I think that's one movement there that I would possibly expect as early as next week. Then again, we don't know how they're going to play these players in that first game against the Raiders, but I think it's only a matter of time until you see Chad Muma move ahead of Shaq Quarterman.
I think so too. I don't think that'll take long. They've been sort of rotating it here and there. I think Chad Muma will absolutely, by the time we get to halfway through training camp, I'd be surprised if he's still rotating with Shaq Quarterman.
All right, what have you seen? We talked about safeties a little bit. Well, the corners are intriguing because I really think when you get to the back half of the corners, that may end up being the most competitive position group on this roster. 3 or 4 guys, including 2 draft picks this past year, that are going to be battling for that 5th and 6th corner position. What have you seen so far?
Yeah, on the 53 I had that you can see on 1010XL.com going into training camp, I had them keeping 7 corners for that reason, because they drafted 2, and they didn't have, if they'd had 11 picks, you could say, oh, well, they're not going to keep 11 guys. You cut them, hopefully get them on the practice squad. Well, they didn't. They traded so many picks. They didn't really have that big of a draft class. So I don't know that you're then going to, cut 1 or 2 of those guys. So, obviously, Shaq Griffin, Tyson Campbell, Darius Williams are making the team. Trey Herndon probably makes the team. Xavier Crawford, they sign. He probably makes the team, and then you've got the 2 draft picks. So I think, and that's before you get to Chris Claybrook, so I did not have making it, but certainly could. And so, yeah, they've got some good depth at corner. We've got to see how that rounds out. I still guess that when we see the final 53, it's probably 6 corners and 5 safeties. But if they kept 7 corners, it would not surprise me because they drafted 2 of them.
All right, let's wrap with most encouraging and most disappointing so far. I'm going to go with James Robinson as the most encouraging, only because we've seen him do more and more every day. And, listen, my eyes say he's ready, but I'm not a doctor. I don't know what's going on. I noticed him today walking off at the end of this 3rd practice with the knee and the leg fully iced up and taped, but he's just adding more and more pass catching drills, working on the big bag as far as pass blocking. So far, very impressed with what I've seen with James Robinson, and the belief is he could be ready by the middle part of August. Who have you seen so far that has really encouraged you?
Yeah, that's a great call on James Robinson. I'm going to actually stay at the same position group and say Travis Etienne. He looks explosive. He had a nice run to the sideline today where he was able to showcase the speed on probably about, 20-yard run, something like that. I really like what I'm seeing out of Travis Etienne. I think he is going to be a star for this offense this season if he can stay healthy. And so really encouraged by both backs. It's great seeing James Robinson back out there and doing as much as he's able to do. I think Travis Etienne, though, is getting ready to have a huge year.
For me, the biggest disappointment, unfortunately, is Kevin Austin Jr. He's arguably looks like the worst wide receiver of this grouping. And, he let a ball go through his hands today that, it wasn't even close. He didn't even slow the ball down at all. It was just really disappointing. And, I hate to single out an undrafted free agent pick, but he was the one that came with the most juice. He was the one, he can run. He's only done it for 1 year at Notre Dame, but he's raw and he's got the ability, and he had a decent camp. But, I look at guys like Hall. Certainly, I look at a guy like LeJon Winningham, who have had better camps, in my opinion, so far. And it's only 3 days in. It can change. But, here's a guy that I would say would be one of the first 5 cut.
Yeah, good call. And, I'd say my biggest disappointment is the absence of Devin Lloyd. I have such high hopes for him. And again, I have to keep telling myself we're in July. They play in September. And you definitely want that injury to be fully healed. You don't want that lingering into the regular season. So, I'm sure they're going to be very cautious with it. We may not see him for a couple of weeks. That would make sense. But I just can't wait to watch him. I think he's going to be so good. And so when Doug got in front of us before the first practice and said, Devin Lloyd kind of had a minor hamstring injury, suffered in the conditioning test. That was a bummer because those injuries can be unpredictable. And it's just he's got to be aching to get out there. So you really have to guard against what he's telling you. Like if you're the Jaguar staff, if Devin Lloyd is saying, I'm ready, you've got to give him 6 more days. Mm-hmm. And so it's finding that balance. So that's disappointing because I'm really looking forward to seeing Walker, Lloyd, Aluakan, and Josh Allen out there all at once.
Don't do it, Blue. Don't do it. You do it every year. You sit here and you say, they look great. They're supposed to look great. They're professional football players, okay? This is not covering college where there's a major difference between a freshman and a redshirt junior or what have you. The one thing I will say, though, it feels so different from a year ago. And again, the obligatory, I totally bought in last year, and I apologize to each and every one of you. But just this feels like the way an NFL training camp is supposed to be run. You can feel the respect, coach to player, player to coach, and it's a better roster. Now, is that going to translate into wins? We'll talk about that as we move forward, but with 4 of the first 6 on the road, that's a pretty difficult start. But, 3 days in, I'm very happy with what I've seen.
I'm very encouraged. I think the practices have been very well orchestrated by Doug Peterson and his staff. The tempo is great. There's not a lot of extra stuff that we saw last year where we're like, oh, well, that's different. Maybe it'll work. Well, it didn't. And I apologize, too. I thought Urban Meyer would work, and obviously he did not. But I am really encouraged by what I've seen. And, there's no question they're more talented. They with the assets that they used, again, they spent to the cap. They brought in a ton of free agents. They then, had a draft that really boosted the front 7 and the offensive line in Fortner. So, I'm incredibly encouraged by what I'm seeing. And so now you just hope that, once we start seeing them against other teams, that progress continues. We'll certainly talk again here on Death Taxes in Duval before the opener a week from Thursday in Canton, Ohio, where all our shows are going to be there at 1010XL 92.5 FM, obviously celebrating Tony Baselli going into the Hall of Fame. But as you know, for me, it's all about gambling. And right now, I need to know who's going to have the most yards next Thursday night, Armstead, Cottrell, or Sargent. I'm going to go Sargent. Are you really? Yeah, because I think he might get 37 carries. I think you can. They're going to cut 39 guys between now and September, whenever it is, September 3rd. I think those 39 guys are going to play a whole lot of football against the Raiders. So yeah. I think you're going to see a healthy scratch list that is going to be significant for the Jaguars, and that's the way it should be. So on volume alone, I will go with Sargent. Let's thank our sponsor. Yeah. Appreciate Spickelmier Insurance Agency. Call John at 471-7155. Make sure you're paying for the right car insurance policy. There could be stuff in your policy, circumstances change in your life. You might be paying for something you don't really need to pay for. Just have John look at it. If he can save you money, great. If he can't, stay with your guy. But give Spickelmier Insurance Agency a call at 471-7155. John will take great care of you. Graham Marsh, you have a viewing tip for us. Typically during football season, I spend, 8, 10, 12 hours a day reviewing film. But every once in a while, I like to, enter the world of pop culture. Tell us about Blackbird.
Blackbird, the show.
Yes.
Oh, it's phenomenal. On Apple TV Plus. It is a guy who is a drug dealer that gets arrested. He's supposed to be locked up for 10 years, and the FBI makes a deal with him because he's a smooth talker kind of guy. FBI makes a deal with him that if he goes to this prison for like serial murderers and just like crazy people, I don't know what the word for that type of place is.
Right, maximum security.
Yeah, maximum security. That's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
If he agrees to get transported, befriend a guy they're trying to knock down who they know has killed a bunch of people, and they're trying to get him to confess and tell him where the bodies are. So
this is going to be.
It's a top
good.
Bunk, bottom bunk situation. Then that's what you're telling us.
So they don't. Their cells are across from each other.
Okay.
So they have to. They talk through the bars and stuff like that.
There's no this crapper is mine conversation.
Right. Prison lingo.
Unfortunately not.
No, there'll be no.
I'm still going to watch it.
There'll be no crapping today because we've got to make some moonshine.
And there's some really interesting I don't want to spoil anything, but there's really interesting sidebar stuff.
And it's Ray Liotta's final film.
It is.
Yeah.
And it's a film or a show?
It's a show. Sorry.
Okay.
It's a I'm not sure how many episodes there are. I want to say there's maybe 6 or something like that. My girlfriend and I have watched
I've seen
the first
the trailer.
3.
Yeah. And I
It's
guess the
really
preview.
Good.
Now, the guy that they're going to try to get to admit to committing all these murders is the guy who played Richard Jewell in the Atlanta bombing movie, which was very good.
Yeah.
That movie was outstanding.
That role has to be incredibly hard to play. He deserves to win awards for what he's doing. Just from what I've seen, he's unbelievable in that role. Like chills when you watch him. It's crazy.
I'm fired up.
I'm gonna binge.
I may not go to practice tomorrow.
No, I'm staying up all night. Let me know what happens. Yeah, exactly. All right, that's it. Thank you to Graham Marsh.
Thanks for the video, Graham Marsh. Look at you.
Look at us. All these videos, man. Next time I'll comb my hairs and be all pretty, shave.
The punk band got a music video.
There you go.
That? Of course.
Hayes Carline, each and every day with you from 3 to 6. How do they get you on Twitter?
Yeah, reach out to me at Hayes Carline.
I am Rick Ballou on 6 till 8. Folks, enjoy the rest of the week. We'll be out of practice again tomorrow, as well as this weekend. For all your comments, hit us on either one of those 2 Twitter handles, and we will talk with you next time right here on Death, Taxes, and Duval.